Trial resumed. Jury not present.
The court said, "Good morning."
All counsel said, "Good morning, Your Honor."
The court said, "Would you make your appearances, please?"
Mr. Ferguson said, "Good morning, Your Honor." Micah Ferguson, Juliana Murray, Ryan Finkel, and Justin Horton for the government. And were joined at counsel table by paralegals Isabel Loftus and Jeffrey Mearns.
Mr. Skirrick said, "Good morning, Your Honor." Scott Skirrick on behalf of Mr. Gov't. I'm joined at counsel's table by Sabrina Shroff, Mr. Kumraju, and Mr. Barkin, together with Mr. Gov't.
The court said, "Please be seated. Is there anything the parties would like to raise before we start witness testimony?"
Mr. Ferguson said, "Your Honor. Just a point I had raised last week, I can't remember which day, on the binders of the large summary chart for the jury and the court. Would it be all right with Your Honor if, before 9:30? We place the binders underneath the chairs and then just, once it's in evidence, we'll ask them to pick it up from under their chairs?"
The court said, "That's fine."
Mr. Ferguson said, "Thank you, Your Honor."
Mr. Skirrick said, "Nothing from the defense, Your Honor." Thanks.
The court said, "All righty. So at about 9:29, if you'll have the witness on the stand."
Mr. Ferguson said, "Yes, Your Honor."
The court said, "Thank you."
Recess. Continued on next page. Jury present.
The court said, "Please be seated. Good morning, jurors."
The juror said, "Good morning."
The court said, "Welcome back. The prosecution may call its next witness."
Mr. Ferguson said, "Thank you, Your Honor." The government calls Shamel Medrano.
The witness said, "Good morning, Your Honor."
The law clerk said, "Mr. Medrano, please raise your right hand."
Witness sworn.
The court said, "Please state your name and spell it."
The witness said, Shamel Medrano. Shamel Medrano.
The court said, "You may inquire."
Mr. Ferguson said, "Thank you, Your Honor."
Shamel Medrano, called as a witness by the government, having been duly sworn, testified as follows. Direct examination. By Mr. Ferguson.
Good morning, Mr. Medrano.
Good morning.
Where do you work?
I work at the U.S. Attorney's Office in the Southern District of New York.
What's your position at the U.S. Attorney's Office?
I'm an investigative analyst.
What are some of your duties and responsibilities as an investigative analyst at the U.S. Attorney's Office?
Some of my duties, I assist with social media analysis.
The law clerk said, "Mr. Medrano, if you could pull the microphone closer to you and speak up."
The witness said, "Of course, yes."
The law clerk said, "Thank you."
So my duties include assisting with social media analysis. I analyze phones, also business records. It varies on the nature of the case.
How long have you been an investigative analyst at the U.S. Attorney's Office?
4.5 to 5 years, approximately.
What did you do before that?
I was an intelligence analyst at the Bronx District Attorney's Office.
How long were you an intelligence analyst at the Bronx District Attorney's Office?
2.5 to 3 years.
Now, Mr. Medrano, besides your testimony today and preparation for this testimony, what involvement did you have in this case?
I assisted in preserving some open-source social media and open-source web pages.
How did you preserve those things from the internet?
Depending on the type of material, so I used a snipping tool. I also used a video downloader. And I used a sort of single-file HTML preservation tool.
And Mr. Medrano, I just ask, the acoustics can be a little difficult to hear if you can. Just pull the mic as close as you can.
Yes.
And speak as clearly into it as you can.
Sorry. I'll scoot up.
Thank you. Now, Mr. Medrano, did you decide what to preserve from the internet?
No.
Did you make any investigative step decisions in this case?
No.
Who made those decisions?
The prosecutors.
And who asked you to preserve those things from the internet?
The prosecutors.
Am I one of those prosecutors?
Yes.
Okay. Now, Mr. Medrano, In advance of your testimony, were you asked to review certain government exhibits and help summarize the information in them?
Yes.
Did you help prepare or review for accuracy some summary charts?
Yes.
Are the charts all based on voluminous records?
Yes.
What type or types of exhibits are the charts based on?
They're social media exhibits. There's also web pages that come from web addresses. And there's some videos too.
And who decided which exhibits you reviewed and what information to include on the charts?
The prosecutors.
Were you provided the opportunity to make revisions to the charts to make sure they were accurate?
Yes.
Did you make revisions to the charts?
Yes, I did.
And after you revised the charts, are they now all accurate?
Yes.
And again, just to be clear, did you review all the evidence gathered in this case or just the charts and exhibits those charts are based on?
Just the charts and the exhibits the charts are based off of.
And who selected the exhibits that went into the chart?
The prosecutors.
And who selected the information from those exhibits that went into the chart?
The prosecutors.
Did you have any say in that at all?
No.
Fair to say you just confirmed the charts are accurate?
Correct. Mr. Skirek said, objection.
Mr. Ferguson said, Your Honor, at this time.
The court said, 1 moment. The objection is overruled.
Mr. Ferguson said, Your Honor. At this time, the government will offer a few stipulations between the parties that are marked as government exhibits. It offers Government Exhibit Stip 8, STIP 8, and it offers Government Exhibit Stip 11 and Stip 12.
The court said, they are admitted.
Government's Exhibit Stip 8, Stip 11, Stip 12 received in evidence.
Mr. Ferguson said, All right. Now, Ms. Loftus, if we could pull up a few of the stipulations, just briefly. We'll start with Government Exhibit Stip 2, which is in evidence. And we can publish it if it's not already. I'll just read the intro. It's hereby stipulated and agreed by the parties that, in the below chart, columns A, B, and C accurately list the following information. The government exhibits listed in column A are authentic copies of web pages that were preserved from the internet. If a web page contained a video that was also preserved, the associated video is designated with a V in the government exhibit name. For example, GXC20 is a preservation of a web page, and GXC20V is a preservation of the video that was on that web page. Column B in the chart lists the web address, or URL, of the web page that was preserved. And column C lists the date on which the web page was preserved. Ms. Loftus, I'll just ask if you could just scroll for a few pages, just to give some sense. And maybe we can scroll all the way to the bottom.
By Mr. Ferguson.
Mr. Medrano, are you able to see how many pages this stipulation is?
Yes.
How many pages?
25.
Mr. Ferguson said, Okay. Let's go to the next stipulation. Ms. Loftus, if we could please publish Government Exhibit Stip 8. All right. And this is a stipulation regarding documents. And that's now in evidence. And if you could scroll down, Ms. Loftus. I'll just read the intro. It is hereby stipulated and agreed between the parties that the exhibits listed below in column B were lawfully obtained by the government and are authentic records of the entity listed in column A, that were made at or near the time by, or from information transmitted by, a person with knowledge of the matters set forth in the records. Such records were kept in the course of a regularly conducted activity. And it was the regular practice of that entity to make the records. And Ms. Loftus, if we could scroll down. And that's good. Just up slightly.
By Mr. Ferguson.
And at the very top there, Mr. Medrano, do you see one of them as Gov't USA Incorporated?
Yes.
Mr. Ferguson said, Okay. Let's go to the next stipulation, Ms. Loftus. Let's please show Government Exhibit Stip 9. All right. And this is a stipulation regarding translations of GXC exhibits. It's agreed between the parties that in the below chart, The exhibits listed under column A contain audio or text in a foreign language. In the below chart, the exhibits listed under column B are true and accurate translations of the audio or text contained in the exhibits listed under column A.
By Mr. Ferguson.
And Mr. Medrano, do you see that the exhibits in column B just add a T to the exhibits listed in A?
Correct.
Mr. Ferguson said, all right. Let's go to the next one. Let's go to step 11, please, Ms. Loftus. All right. Now I won't read this one, but this is another stipulation. If we could scroll up slightly, Ms. Loftus. Sorry. This is another stipulation regarding translations, this time of GXW and GXGTR exhibits. And Ms. Loftus. If we could please go now to step 12. Okay. Now this says it is hereby, this is a stipulation regarding video clips. It is hereby stipulated and agreed between the parties that in the below chart, columns A, B, C, and D accurately list the following information, and I'll actually ask, if you could, I'll read the intro. But if you could scroll down so we can see the chart. Perfect. In the below chart, I'm sorry. I read that one. The government exhibits listed in column A are authentic copies of full-length videos that were preserved from the internet. The government exhibits listed in column B are authentic copies of portions, video clips, of the government exhibits listed in column A. Column C lists the timestamps of the video clips listed in column B. And the government exhibits listed in column D contain accurate translations of the audio from the video clips listed in column B. And if we could scroll for just a couple pages. Thank you, Ms. Loftus. And we can take that down. Now, Your Honor. At this time, those stipulations were for authentication. At this time I'm going to move for the admission of a lengthy list of exhibits. If I may approach. I have a printed copy for the court to follow along.
The court said, okay.
Mr. Ferguson said, okay. The government now moves to admit the following exhibits from the GXW series. These are all W exhibits, 5, 5V, 49, 68, 115, 115V, 116, and 122, 123, 123V, 124, 160, 162, 164, 164T, 165, 167, 171, 175, 177, 180, 183, 184. And this actually is 185 through 187. 189 and 190, 193, 198 through 201, 207, and then 1020, 1020V, 1020T, 1021, 1021V, 1021T, 1024, 1024TX, 1024V1. All right. Now I have several exhibits that are C exhibits, GXC exhibits. 6TX, 6V1, 6V2, and also just 6, 20, 20TX, 20V1, 20V2, 40, 40V, 43. 43TX, 43V1, 43V8, so 43V1 through 43V8, 55, 55V, 56, 56V, 63TX, 63V1 through V7, and also just GXC 63, GXC 105, 110, 110TX, 110V1, 121, and 121V, 122. 122V, 123, 123V. With apologies for going out of order, I had actually skipped over one, which is GXC 120 and 120V. Next is 131. 143 and 143T, 145 and 145T, 146 and 146TX, and 146V1 and V2, 148, 148TX, 148V1 through V5, 151.
The court said, are you seeking to admit 148V?
Mr. Ferguson said, I'm actually not, Your Honor.
The court said, okay. All right.
Mr. Ferguson said, I think that was included mistakenly. 151, 160, 160V, 161, and 161TX, 161V1 through V5, 205 and 205V, 210 and 210V, 211 and 211V. 212 and 212V, 220, 220TX, 220V1, 221 and 221V, 252, 252E, 253, 253V, 255, 255V, 257, 257V, 260 through 265 and then 265V, 266 through 270, and then 270V, 271, 272, 272V, 273, 274, 275, 275V, 276. 280, 280V, 281, 281V, 300, 300V, 301, 301V, 302, 302TX, 302V1 through V16, so 302V1 through 302V16, 310 through 314, 320, 321, 321TX, 321V1 through V6, 322, 322TX, 322V1 through V9, 351. 351V, 370, 370V, 371, 371V1, 373, 374, 402, 404 through 406, and 406V, 410, 411, 411V, 412 through 419, 422, 423, 423V, 424 through 426, 428, 429, 429V, 430 through 432, 432V, 433 through 436, 438 through 440, 442, 442V, 443 through 445, and 445V, 446. 459, 459T, 459V1 through V3, 461, 461V, 462, 463, 463V, 464, 480, 481, 483, 484, 484A, 491, 491V, 500, 500TX, 500V1, 501, 501TX, 501V1, 502. 502TX, 502V1 through V24, 503, 503TX, 503V1 through V4, 504, 504TX, 504V1 through V13, 505, 505V, 505T, 506, 506TX, 506V1 through V6, 510, 510TX, 510V1 through V11, 511, 511A, 511TX, 511V1 through V7. That ends the C series. Now I have just a few more exhibits. These are the GTR series, GX GTR 1, 5, 8, 9, 10 through 17, 23, 26, 27, 27T, and 28. And that's all.
Mr. Skirik said, no objection.
The court said, so they are all admitted.
Government's exhibits W5, W5V, W49, W68, W115, W115V, W116, W122, W123, W123V, W124, W160, W162, W164, W164T, W165, W167, W171, W175, W177, W180, W183, W184, W185 through W187, W189, W190, W193, W198 through W201, W207, W1020, W1020V, W1020T, W1021, W1021V, W1021T, W1024, W1024, TX, W1024V1 received in evidence. Government's exhibits C6, TX, C6V1, C6V, C6, C20, C20, TX, C20V1, C20V2, C40, C40V, C43, C43, TX, C43V1, C40 through C40V8, C43V1 through C43V8, C55, C55V, C56, C56V, C63, TX, C63V1 through C63, V7, C63, C105, C110, C110TX, C110V1, C121, C121V, C122, C122V, C123, C123V received in evidence. Government's Exhibits C120 and C120V received in evidence. Government's Exhibits C131, C143, C143T, C145, C145T, C146, C146TX, C146V1, C146V2, C148, C148TX, C148V1 through C148V5, C151 received in evidence. Government's Exhibits C160, C160V, C161, C161TX, C161V1 through C161V5, C205, C205V, C210, C210V, C211, C211V, C212, C212V, C220, C220TX, C220V1, C221, C221V, C252, C252V, C253, C253V, C255, C255V, C257, C257V, C260 through C265, C265V, C266 through C270, C270V, C271, C272, C272V, C273, C274, C275, C275V, C276, C280, C280V, C281, C281V, C300, C300V, C301, C301V, C302, C302, TX, C302V1 through C302, V16, C302V1 through C302, V16, C310 through C314, C320, C321, C321, TX, C321V1 through C321V6, C322, C322, TX, C322V1 through C322, V9, C351, C351V, C370, C370V, C371, C371, V1, C373, C374, C402, C404 through C406, C406V, C410, C411, C411V, C412 through C419, C422, C423, C423V, C424 through C426, C428, C429, C429V, C430 through C432, C432V, C433 through C436, C438 through C440, C442, C442V, C443 through C445, C445V, C446 received in evidence. Government's Exhibits C459, C459T, C459V1 through C459V3, C461, C461V, C462, C463, C463V, C464, C480, C481, C483, C484, C484A, C491, C491V, C500, C500TX, C500V1, C501, C501TX, C501V1, C502, C502TX, C502V1 through C502V24, C503, C503TX, C503V1 through C503V4, C504, C504TX, C504V1 through C504V13, C505, C505V, C505T, C506, C506TX, C506V1 through C506V6, C510, C510TX, C510V1 through C510V11, C511, C511A, C511TX, C511V1 through C511V7 received in evidence. Government's exhibits GTR-1, GTR-5, GTR-8, GTR-9, GTR-10 through GTR-17, GTR-23, GTR-26, GTR-27, GTR-27T, GTR-28 received in evidence.
Mr. Ferguson said, "Thank you, Your Honor."
By Mr. Ferguson.
Okay. Mr. Medrano, you said you prepared some summary charts, correct?
Correct.
Mr. Ferguson said, "Ms. Loftus, to start, if we could show Mr. Medrano GXZ11, please." All right. Now, Mr. Medrano, is this one of the charts?
Yes.
Did you review all the exhibits this chart is based on?
Yes.
Is this chart accurate?
Yes.
Mr. Ferguson said, "The government offers Government Exhibit Z11.
Mr. Skirek said, no objection.
The court said, it is admitted.
Government's Exhibit Z11 received in evidence.
Mr. Ferguson said, "Let's go to another one. Ms. Loftus, could we go to Z9, please? And just for the witness."
By Mr. Ferguson.
All right. Mr. Medrano, what's this exhibit?
This is GX, the exhibit on the summary chart, or...
This is another summary chart you reviewed?
Correct, yes.
Did you review all the exhibits this chart is based on?
Yes.
Is this chart accurate?
Yes.
Mr. Ferguson said, "The government offers Z9.
Mr. Skirek said, no objection.
The court said, admitted.
Government's Exhibit Z9 received in evidence.
Mr. Ferguson said, "And if we could publish, please, Ms. Loftus. And Your Honor, may we also publish the hard copy versions of this exhibit?"
The court said yes.
Mr. Ferguson said, "Ladies and gentlemen, if you look beneath your chairs, there's a binder that has Government Exhibit Z9. All right. Ms. Loftus, if we could zoom on the top with the perfect. Thank you."
By Mr. Ferguson.
All right. Mr. Medrano, generally speaking, what is in this chart?
So I'll start from the left to the right. So this chart is indicating as the date, the source. So the date indicating the date that the source that you find on the exhibit was sort of posted or published. So in this scenario it was April 18th, 2020, for that one. And you have the source, which is where it's coming from, so where? What web address it's being found from. Then it says selected content, which is what is being displayed from the source. So if you would go to that web address, some of what you would find there. And then the GX, which is the government exhibit that applies to that specific source.
And just generally speaking, what sorts of exhibits are included in this chart?
There's videos, there's web page preservations, there's videos. There's translations of the web pages and the videos. And there's also some search warrant material that was provided, I believe, from Gov't.
Now in the selected content column, did you select this content, Mr. Medrano?
No.
Did you have any choice in what was included or not included in that column?
No.
Who did?
The prosecutors.
And in that column, the selected content, Mr. Medrano. Is it the full set of text from the government exhibit or just a selection of it?
It's a selection of it.
The court said. And by selection, do you mean excerpt?
Mr. Ferguson said, yes. Oh, Mr. Medrano?
The witness said, correct, yes.
The court said. I wanted to understand what you were asking when you used the word.
Mr. Ferguson said, oh, that's correct, Your Honor.
The court said, go ahead.
Mr. Ferguson said, thank you.
By Mr. Ferguson.
All right. So Mr. Medrano, let's just look at this first example. What was the date?
April 18th, 2020.
And where was that date taken from for the selected content?
In the selected content, you'll see a screen, sort of a snip of what was the selected content. And there in the title you see it says Miles Guo with a date, says 20200418, and that's where the date was taken from.
And what domain was this taken from?
gnews.org.
And Mr. Medrano, do you have any independent knowledge about what gnews.org is?
No.
What was the? Mr. Ferguson said, and then, Ms. Loftus, if we could scroll down slightly. Now, Mr. Medrano, you said this, focusing on the selected content. You described the image as a snip. What's the snip?
Sort of a capture of the full web page, but just a small excerpt of it.
And the text underneath that, where is that text taken from?
It's taken from the source.
From the web page?
From the web page, correct.
The court said by snip, do you mean a still photo?
The witness said, correct, like a snipping tool of the photo of the web.
The court said thank you.
And Mr. Medrano, I would just ask you to read, could you just read that first paragraph?
Yes. Until now, no one can understand the value and significance of GTV, Gnews, and the future. I can tell everyone to watch this place while walking. GTV and Gnews want all comrades to earn in the future. With money, earning the future, earning safety, earning wisdom, earning the dignity of the whole person. Earning a career and a platform. How can you get what you want without money?
Mr. Ferguson said, and if we could scroll up slightly, Ms. Loftus. This is GXW184?
Correct.
Mr. Ferguson said, and Ms. Loftus, do we have W184? All right. And if we could publish that, please. All right. And Mr. Medrano, what are we looking at here?
It's an HTML preservation of the entire web page.
And who preserved this?
I preserved this.
Mr. Ferguson said, and Ms. Loftus, if we could just scroll down slightly. You can just scroll, keep scrolling. All right. Now, Mr. Medrano, the entire this text was not put in the chart, correct?
Correct.
Mr. Ferguson said, all right. Let's go back to the top, Ms. Loftus. Oh, I'm sorry. Just the top of that exhibit. And when you described a snip, Mr. Medrano, what portion of this was snipped?
The top portion, the portion where you see sort of the name of the web page, where it says Miles Guo 20200418. And right underneath it where you see the miles with sort of the V icon.
And the V icon, what's your understanding of what that means?
Based on, I believe meant to be verified.
Mr. Ferguson said, all right. Let's go back to Z9, Ms. Loftus, please. All right. And Mr. Medrano, are the entries in this chart, generally, in chronological order?
Yes.
How many pages is this chart?
209 pages.
Mr. Ferguson said, and Ms. Loftus, if we could scroll down, or jump to page 206. All right. What's the date of this entry, Mr. Medrano?
March 5th, 2023.
Mr. Ferguson said, and if we go back to page 1, Ms. Loftus. What's the first entry?
April 18th, 2020.
So we go from April 2020 to March 2023?
Correct.
Mr. Ferguson said, all right. And Ms. Loftus. If we could scroll down just slightly on this page to the bottom right corner. Keep going. All right. Now, Mr. Medrano, do you see there's a number 1 on the bottom right?
Correct.
What is that?
The page number.
Okay. All right. Mr. Ferguson said, so Ms. Loftus, I'd like to jump ahead a little bit, and let's please go to page 61. And ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you're welcome to follow along in hard copy. And if we could, okay. Could we scroll up slightly? All right. I want to go to GXC 302, Ms. Loftus. Okay. Great. Sorry. It's page 62.
By Mr. Ferguson.
All right. Mr. Medrano, what's the date of this entry in the chart?
February 28, 2021.
And where was this posted?
On gtv.org.
And the image in the selected content, where is that image taken from?
From the video.
Now focusing you on the right-hand column, Mr. Medrano, what is that? That lists the GXs, right?
Yes.
Just the one that says 302. What is Government Exhibit 302?
That's the sort of the web page. So if you were to go to that web address, that is the page that web address would take you to.
And then the one beneath that, the V, what is the V?
The V is the video that was sort of found on that web address. That's the entirety of that video.
The full video?
The video, the full video, correct.
And then skipping down one, the V1 through V16, what are those exhibits?
Those are excerpts of the original video, so of 302.
These are video clips?
Correct.
Okay. And then right above that, the 302TX, what's that exhibit?
That's the translation of the video.
Of the video clips?
Correct.
All right. Now, Mr. Medrano, did some of the videos you reviewed have subtitles in them?
Yes.
Does this video have subtitles?
No.
What's your understanding of what language these videos are in?
I believe they're in Mandarin.
And how long were some of these videos?
Hours. 2 to 3 hours, even more.
Okay. Now I'm not going to go through all the excerpts here. Mr. Ferguson said, so Ms. Loftus, if we could just scroll to page 67. And I want to go to V15. Okay. And now, Ms. Loftus. If we could, I'll ask you to please pull up Government Exhibit V15 and play that, please. And could you turn the volume up, please?
Video played.
Mr. Ferguson said, okay. Now, Ms. Loftus, I'll ask you to you can put it on mute and we can play it again.
By Mr. Ferguson.
And Mr. Medrano, using your binder, could I ask you to please read the text underneath V15?
Yes.
The court said, okay, what page is that?
Mr. Ferguson said, this is page 67, Your Honor.
The court said, go ahead.
Let me tell you this again. There will never be a chance like the one that we have today, where you can be involved in GTV and Gcoin. You have my words. There won't be an opportunity like this ever again. Brother Seven has worked all his life. I know what politics is, I know what finance is. And I know what earning big money is. You won't even understand. You don't understand even when I explain it to you. Brothers and sisters, you have to trust Brother Seven. None of you will pay for this if you lost money. I'll be the one who pays for it. For the amount of money that you have invested in, to be honest with you. Any one of my houses is worth hundreds of millions of dollars for the ones that belong to our family, right? The stocks that our family controls now are worth hundreds of millions or billions of dollars in Japan, Taiwan, and European countries, and the funds I invest in are worth tens of billions of dollars, right? My best friends own their countries. What is Jack Ma to me? He's nothing to me. My best friend's underground is worth lots of money. Who are you? Right? I tell you what. From what Brother Seven has seen, you will never have this opportunity. Don't allow poverty drag down your IQ. Your EQ can be lowered, but not your IQ. You'll never have the opportunities like Gcoin and GTV.
All right. Now, Mr. Medrano, this was February 2021, right?
Correct.
So I want to go back towards the beginning of the chart and earlier in time. Mr. Ferguson said, Ms. Loftus, if we could go to C26. I'm sorry. Page 2. And if we could, Mr. Medrano, what's the date of this entry in the chart?
April 20th, 2020.
And where was this download from?
From YouTube.
And looking at the text underneath the selected content, what's the first line?
When you see this video, it is not a public video.
Now, and this was downloaded from YouTube?
Correct.
Mr. Ferguson said, all right. Now, Ms. Loftus, if we could pull up C26V, please. And before we do that, Mr. Medrano, did this video have subtitles in it?
Yes.
Could you read the subtitle on the page that's in the snip?
Yes. The first is Wang Yangping, who everyone knows.
Mr. Ferguson said, and let's play C26V, please, Ms. Loftus.
Video played. Continued on next page. By Mr. Ferguson.
Mr. Medrano, you said this video is April 2020, right?
Correct.
And the one we watched first was February 2021?
Correct.
The one we're watching now is about 10 months earlier, is that right?
That is right.
In the February 2021, what was said about risk?
That there was no risk.
And in this video, what did the speaker just say about risk?
I'm sorry.
That's okay, Mr. Medrano. Withdrawn. Ms. Loftus, we can keep playing the video.
Media played.
Mr. Ferguson said, pause please. Mr. Medrano, do you have any independent knowledge of who Max is?
No.
We can keep playing, Ms. Loftus.
Medica played.
All right. Ms. Loftus, we can pause this. Mr. Medrano, what does it say on the screen here?
This video is sent to you one by one.
And remind us, where was this preserved from?
YouTube.
And if we could go back to the chart, please, Ms. Loftus. And if we could scroll down slightly. And Mr. Medrano, could you just read the text under 933?
Yes. Private placement means that we are friends. I can introduce this project to you one-on-one. On several of you for investment. I can't do a lot of marketing in the media or large public media.
And, Ms. Loftus, if we can scroll down slightly. Mr. Medrano, could you just read the next excerpt? Please?
Originally we planned to set a threshold of $10,000 per head, but we had no choice but to adjust it. Adjust it to. There were so many people because the number of people is limited. The investing amount is not limited. We have adjusted the threshold to $100,000 from $10,000. But because of supporters of Rule of Law, Federation has a priority. We made an exception for some people by allowing them to invest in GTV even if they invested less than $100,000. But the right to decide and control is on us.
If you could read that next paragraph.
But this time we have rejected lots of its institutional investors which request to invest millions. Tens of millions and hundreds of millions USD. We mainly allowed our friends to invest this time, therefore. The quota is limited, and the entry threshold is unlimited from $100,000 to indefinite. Then I would also like our investor friends and fellow fighters to know that this company is registered in the US. GTV is a new company where the IPO time starts within 24 hours of you seeing the video.
This was April 20th, 2020, right, Mr. Medrano?
Correct.
Ms. Loftus, can we go to page 6, please? Focusing you on the entry on the screen, Mr. Medrano. What was the date of this entry on the chart?
June 2nd, 2020.
About a month and a half later?
Correct.
Where was this downloaded from?
From YouTube.
Ms. Loftus, I'll ask you to play V1. And after a few seconds, if you want to place it on mute. And Mr. Medrano, I would then ask you to read from your binder the excerpt under V1, please.
Yes.
Media played.
We had an initial evaluation of 200 million for GTV. And the private placement required a minimum investment of 20 million. The private placement exceeded the highest expectations and raised 350 million. This is up to now this. This figure is about 360 million, let's say 350 million. 350 million does not include the 117 million from VOG. If 117 plus 350 million, it's more than 480 million, which is almost 500 million, almost 500 million. But the figure we have now is 350 million received, which is just for the contracts with GTV. This turned out to be a conservative estimate and 17.5 times valuation. Given the tremendous demand for GTV shares and the good capital position of GTV going forward. My lawyers and financial experts mutually agree that a 2 billion valuation is probably too low. And that the actual value of the company is probably closer to 10 billion, given the tremendous demand for GTV shares. My fellow fighters, do you get the picture? Your stock has now gone from 20 million in the past to the actual amount of cash now 17.5 times. Excluding the 117 million of SARA, which is that of the VOG. If you add that, it should be close to 30 folds. That's between 27 to 30 folds. And, at the same time, this company has gone from 2 billion in the past to 10 billion.
Ms. Loftus, if we can go back to the chart, and if we could go to the next page, page 7. And no need to play the video. But, Mr. Medrano, could you please read the text under V4? Actually, you don't need to read all of it. Ms. Loftus, you can take that down. About in the middle of the paragraph starting at the same time, could you read from there on, please?
Yes. At the same time, as our fellow fighters know, our G-dollar and G-coin. This pre-sale of the whole system will also start immediately. And will be fully online and start running in 3.5 months from now. Then the stable coin issued by our Himalayan Federal Reserve, the HIFT, and the G-coin jointly used by our online. Our G-Fashion and G-News, GTV will be fully online. Within 3.5 months. Our G-News may enter the private placement stage. G-News, G-Fashion, G-Mall, G-Pay, G-Club and GTV will be fully operational within 3.5 to 4 months.
Ms. Loftus, I'll ask you to scroll down to the next page, please. And, Mr. Medrano, could you please read the text under V7?
Yes. In this GTV investment, I had a separate conversation with each investor. This is a serious and solemn commitment and responsibility of Wenguigwa to you. To be responsible for this investment forever, this is a legally valid commitment and attitude.
This was June 2nd, 2020, right?
Correct.
Ms. Loftus, if we could scroll to the next page, please, page 9. Mr. Medrano. Focusing you on what's on the screen, what's the entry of what's the date of this entry?
June 17th, 2020.
And where was this preserved from?
gtv.org.
Do you have any independent knowledge of what gtv.org is?
No.
And the photo in the selected content column, where did that photo come from or that image?
It's from the video.
Ms. Loftus, if we could play C2020 V1. Just play the whole thing.
Media played.
Ms. Loftus, if you want to play that again on mute. And, Mr. Medrano, I'd ask you to read the text under V1 from your binder, please.
Yes. There are people who have issued shares today. Some have already started trading the shares. How much is it? Just now, 2 or 3 ago, a fellow fighter sold 10,000 shares, 10,000 shares. And a deal has been concluded for $18 a share, $18 per share. But our investment committee was not happy and wanted to buy them all back for $20.
Mr. Medrano, if the shares began at $1 and now they're $20, how many times have they increased?
20 times. Mr. Skirik said, objection.
The court said, overruled. I assume that he can do arithmetic.
Mr. Skirik said, Foundation, Your Honor.
Let's jump ahead a little bit back to the chart. We can go to page 30, please, if we could scroll down. Mr. Medrano, focusing you on the entry on your screen, what's the date of this entry?
August 1st, 2020.
Where was this preserved from?
gtv.org.
Did this video have subtitles?
It did.
Now, Mr. Medrano, the text beneath this video in the selected content column. Where did that text come from?
From the video.
The subtitles?
Correct.
Now, before we play the video, could you read the text that's to the right of the date please in the snip?
Yes. Once the CCP's apps are all banned, it will be impossible for GTV and G News not to make money.
Could you please read the subtitle in the still image?
As for G Fashion, we will start right away at $100 billion.
And, Ms. Loftus, if we could start playing Government Exhibit C121V, please. I will ask you to jump to about 124 seconds and after we get going. That's good, Ms. Loftus.
Media played.
We can pause there. Ms. Loftus, if we can go back to the chart, please. We're going to scroll now to page 32, please. Mr. Medrano, the date of the last video was August 1st, 2020, right?
Correct.
What's the date of the entry on the screen?
August 2nd, 2020.
Where was this downloaded from?
From YouTube.
Are there subtitles on this video?
No.
Ms. Loftus, if we could scroll down to page 33, please. If we could play C43V5. And we can put it on mute. And, Mr. Medrano, I'd ask you from your binder please to read the text under C43V5.
Media played.
Why is the Communist Party so afraid of us all of a sudden? Isn't it just watching us get rich? Isn't it just watching us make big money? He is scared. He doesn't want us to make money. He doesn't let our fellow fighters make so much money. How much is GTV? Of course. This is the law of the United States, with a market value of $2 billion. Now that it needs market transaction, it may reach $20 billion. G Fashion was $100 billion when it went public. Right? This is the law of the United States. If you want to make a little false something in the United States, then you are looking for death, so the Communist Party is afraid. G-Coin and G-Dollar changing mankind.
Ms. Loftus, if we can go back to the chart, please. If we could please go to page 61. I'm sorry, 62. Mr. Medrano, the first clip we played was from this video, right?
Correct.
Remind us the date?
February 28, 2021.
So we're about 10 months from that first video in April 2020, correct?
Yes.
Let's look at a few more clips from this video. Ms. Loftus, if you could scroll down to page 64, please. Up slightly, Ms. Loftus. I want to ask you, we don't need to play the video again, if you could scroll up again. Mr. Medrano, I'm going to ask you to read the text under V7. And please read the start of the second paragraph and go through, it's all on Brother 7 if we lose money?
Yes. Then our G News, our GTV, our G Fashion. And most importantly, all of human mankind have been heading toward a generation of cryptocurrency, virtual currency. Which you all have seen it. It all happened in such a short time. The future value of those is promising with their resource. Its predicted value and our scientific efficient and low-cost operation. First of all, I dare to say it here today that we will not lose a penny. Tell me, who does business and dare to share that you will not lose a penny? I can. It's all on Brother 7 if we lose money.
If we can scroll down slightly and focus you on V8. And, Ms. Loftus, why don't we play V8? And shortly after that, Mr. Medrano, I'll ask you to start reading a portion of it. You can go ahead and play it with some sound, Ms. Loftus.
Media played.
Ms. Loftus, why don't we play it again on mute? And, Mr. Medrano, from your binder. I'll ask you to please read the text, and you can start with the sentence that starts. There is not a chance that we will lose any money.
The court said, if you would appoint us to where exactly you are.
Mr. Ferguson said, yes, Your Honor. We're on page 64, I believe. Ms. Loftus, you want to pull up the chart quickly. It's the fourth line down, Your Honor, of the second paragraph under V8. Thank you, Ms. Loftus. Mr. Medrano, you can go ahead and read that through the end of the paragraph.
Yes. There's not a chance that we will lose any money. How can there be? For our fellow fighters. If you lost any money, Brother 7 will pay for it. Brother 7 will be on it. I can even write this down for you. If you lose any money, it be on Brother 7, and the profit will be yours. It's just a matter of how much you'll be making, and when you will be making those monies. It's a matter of time and profit amount.
Ms. Loftus, if we can go back to the chart, and if we can scroll down slightly to V10. Mr. Medrano. Could I ask you to please, under V10, could I just ask you to read the first sentence there?
Yes. Just with the investment of GTV, we managed to raise more than 400 million so far. And we haven't spent a penny of those.
Ms. Loftus, let's look at another video. Let's go to page 76 in the chart, please. Mr. Medrano. What's the date of this entry on the chart?
March 30th, 2021.
That's about a month later?
Correct.
Where was this preserved from?
GTV.org.
Are there subtitles in this video?
No.
Ms. Loftus, I ask you to scroll down to page 78 to 79. Mr. Medrano, I want to focus you on V4. And, Ms. Loftus. If we could please play Government Exhibit C161 V4.
Media played.
Ms. Loftus, you can pause that. And, Mr. Medrano, if I could ask you to, underneath V4 in your binder. If you could please read the two paragraphs at the top of page 79. The first sentence should start. Currently it's scheduled as a yesterday. It's probably going to be 60 billion of investment.
Mr. Skerrick said, objection.
The court said, sustained. Are you asking him to read from currently?
Mr. Ferguson said, correct, Your Honor.
The court said, go ahead.
Currently it's scheduled as a yesterday. We know that it's probably going to be 60 billion of investment, 60 billion of assessment. I thought it was too high. So I just want to make it 20 billion. For the 40 billion, we'll make room for the second fundraising. If listed for 60 billion, there's still a long way to go. I think 20 billion is enough, comrades. Don't be too greedy. Okay? You shall leave some benefits for other comrades in arms. Because they will have room for rapid growth when they join in. If you have used up all 60 billion of it, all its value in the next 3 to 5 years, the value over the years will be used up. And these shares will be taken by you, which is not fair. You have already gotten rich already.
Ms. Loftus, if we can go back to the chart, please. If we could go to page 98, please. Mr. Medrano. The entry on page 98 here, what's the date of that entry?
It's May 30th, 2021.
And where was this posted?
On gnews.org.
In the snip, was this a video or an article?
This is an article.
And in the snip of the article, could you please read the headline?
Yes. Highlights of Mr. Miles Gw't live broadcast on May 30th, 2021.
I'll just ask you to please read the first 3 sentences of the selected content.
Yes. The new GTV company will issue shares of $60 billion. The original fellow fighters investors will get 10 shares per $. Of investment. Don't be too greedy.
It says get 10 shares per $1, Mr. Medrano?
Correct.
Ms. Loftus, if we could now jump ahead again. Let's go to page 115, please. If we could scroll down to the other video. Mr. Medrano, what's the date of this entry in the chart?
August 11th, 2021.
And where was it posted?
On YouTube.
I'm going to ask Ms. Loftus if you could please play V1. We'll go ahead and play it. And, Mr. Medrano. I'll ask you to read the text after that.
Media played.
Let's go back to page 115 on the chart. Mr. Medrano, I'll ask you to read the text on this page, please.
Yes. Louis Vuitton is only worth 16.4 billion. You see. All these brands are around 20 billion, nothing too big, including Hermes, which is only 13 or 14 billion, nothing too big. Nearly any exceeded. Cartier is worth 15 billion. Remember that the total value of the top 10 brands is about 20 billion, generally 13 billion to 20 billion. Why are they so uniform? And then look at Chanel, it's 13.7 billion, which is close to 13 billion, right? These market values are all between 13 billion and 20 billion, the source of these top 10 brands. If you look at Hermes, it's only 11.9 billion. It's not as high. It's even less than Chanel. Did you notice it? Rolex is worth 7.8 billion, and which is about 8 billion rounding up, right? It's only worth 8 billion. Which is only 1/5 or 1/6 of our GTV in terms of market value.
Mr. Medrano, another arithmetic question. If $8 billion is 1/5 of the market value of GTV, what would that make the market value of GTV?
40 billion.
We're talking about GTV market value. Ms. Loftus, I want to go back in the chart and back in time. If we could please go to page 5. Mr. Medrano, what's the date of this entry in the chart?
May 25, 2020.
Where was this posted?
On gnews.org.
And in the snip, what does it say to the left of the V icon?
Miles.
And, Mr. Medrano, is the text beneath that the whole text from the source or just an excerpt?
Just an excerpt.
Ms. Loftus, if we could scroll down slightly. Keep going, please. So, Mr. Medrano, I'm going to ask you to read the bottom paragraph here, the one that starts, another one I want.
Yes. Another one I want to insert one in the middle. The Himalayan farm we are building now. I tell you that the Himalayan farm will never raise funds, will not raise funds. Will not reach out to comrades in arms, will only bring convenience to comrades and bring benefits. You stretch your hand, and this will always be remembered. This is the embassy of all of us in the world. It's now under construction. Warriors from all over the world are welcome to participate actively. We are writing a charter.
Ms. Loftus, can we go now to the bottom of page 28? Mr. Medrano, what's the date of this entry in the chart?
July 22nd, 2020.
Was this a video or an article?
This is a video.
Where was it posted?
On gnews.org.
Mr. Medrano, I don't know if we covered this before. Do you see underneath the image there's something in brackets?
Yes.
What is that?
That's sort of the timestamp of where this text on the bottom begins on the video.
Ms. Loftus, before we play the video, Mr. Medrano, could you read the text in the image to the right of the date?
Yes, contact local Himalayan farms.
And does this video have subtitles?
Yes.
Could you please read the subtitle in the image?
Yes. Thus a new way has been formed for the money.
Ms. Loftus, if we could please play Government Exhibit C40V.
Media played.
Ms. Loftus, if you want to jump ahead to 256.
Media played.
You can pause this. Ms. Loftus, if we can go back to the chart, if we could scroll down slightly. Mr. Medrano, could I ask you to read a few sentences starting with, thus a new way in the third line there?
Yes. Thus a new way has been formed for the money, that is a cooperation method. You will sign a loan contract with the local farm with a 6% interest rate and equity given to you with the option of 3 to 5 years. Then you can ask for equity, interest or cash at any time. This method of cooperation is both legal and compliant. This will be implemented by each farm. GTV will not deal with any person individually. Instead, we will only sign contracts with local farms. It will be loans in this way. You will decide if you want equity or money. It's up to you.
Ms. Loftus, if we could now go to page 53. What's the date of this entry, Mr. Medrano?
September 20th, 2020.
Where was it posted?
On gnews.org.
Are there subtitles in this?
There are.
Could you first read in the image the text to the right of the September 20th, 2020 date?
Yes. The standards of the establishment of Himalayan farm.
Could you please read the subtitle in the still?
Yes. You can put your money here for a long time, even forever.
Ms. Loftus, if we could now play Government Exhibit C205V.
Media played.
Pause there. If we could just go back a couple of seconds, Ms. Loftus. Mr. Medrano. Do you have any personal knowledge of who Brother Changdao is?
No.
If we can keep playing, Ms. Loftus.
Media played.
You can stop it there. Let's go back to the chart, Ms. Loftus. If we could go now to page 70, please. If we could scroll down. Mr. Medrano, what's the date of this entry in the chart?
March 11th, 2021.
And where was this posted?
On YouTube.
Does this video have subtitles?
It does not.
Ms. Loftus, if we could first play Government Exhibit C510V1, please.
Media played.
You can stop it there, Ms. Loftus. Can you go back to the chart? Mr. Medrano. I'll ask you to read the first two sentences of the first paragraph there, please.
Yes. Another thing is that I would like to make one more announcement to you. Comrades in arms must remember that from now on, if anyone sees anything about payment, you can't pay a penny if it did not have official video, voice statement and public account of Himalayan Alliance Committee and the Farms Committee.
Thank you, Ms. Medrano. Ms. Loftus, if we can scroll again to page 73 to 74. Mr. Medrano. The text here that starts, "That's all I have to say," could you please read that paragraph?
Yes. That's all I have to say in terms of that. As for the account transfer, the account number of GTV's loaning program and the first payment account will be sent to the Alliance Committee and Farms later, which are absolutely confidential. We have at least hundreds of accounts ready this time. If an account is closed, we will have another one open to back it up. We will fight this guerrilla. The account is sent to each farm on a one-to-one basis and the Alliance Committee on a one-to-one basis. After sending it to each comrade in arms, all the comrades in arms must remember that only the chairman of the Alliance Committee, the members, the farm leaders, the second in command, and the iron-blooded group of the Alliance Committee have the right to send this account. For those of you that have sent out the account, you are definitely someone that they are familiar with. If you have not confirmed the person who sent you the account number wouldn't count. After confirming the account number, it cannot be leaked out. You can remit money to this account. After the money is remitted, we will notify you once the money is received, and the transaction will be over. In the future, it will be transferred to you as the stock of the initial building of the company. And the stock that will give you for initial building of the company will also be similarly matched to in 1-20 and 1-10.
Mr. Medrano, there's a reference to the iron-blooded group. Do you know what that is?
No.
Now, Ms. Loftus, I want to go back in time again to earlier in the chart to page 13, please. If we can scroll down. Mr. Medrano, on page 13 here, what's the date of the chart entry shown on the screen?
June 20th, 2020.
And where was this posted?
On gtv.org.
Did this video have subtitles?
Yes.
I ask you to first read the caption to the right of the date in the image.
The Himalaya Independent Financial Ecosystem.
Can you read the subtitle in the image, please?
Yes. You're entitled to receive 10,000.
Ms. Loftus, if we could please play Government Exhibit C123V.
Media played.
We can stop there. If we could go back to the chart, Ms. Loftus, please. If we could scroll slightly. Mr. Medrano, I'm going to ask you to read the first excerpted text on the top of page 14, please.
Yes. You are entitled to receive 10,000 shares of G Fashion stock worth $1 per share. Why? Because when you purchase the G Club membership, G Club could serve as an investment company which will take $10,000 that I will lend you without any interest to buy the G Fashion stock worth $1 per share for you.
And this is June 2020, right, Mr. Medrano?
Correct.
Now what's the date of the entry here, Mr. Medrano?
July 22nd, 2020.
Where was this posted?
On gnews.org.
What's the caption on this video say?
Please don't send me more checks.
And could you read the subtitle in the image, please?
You become a shareholder of G Club immediately.
Ms. Loftus, I'll ask you to please play Government Exhibit C212V. We'll play about 2.5 minutes.
Media played.
You can stop there. Ms. Loftus, if we could jump ahead, we'll play to about 5:27 seconds in. We'll play about 20 seconds or so.
Media played.
You can pause there. We can actually keep playing.
Media played.
We can pause there. If we could go back to the chart, Ms. Loftus, please. If we could scroll down slightly, please. Mr. Medrano, could you please read the text under 613?
Yes. Please keep this in mind about the money that you either go and buy G Club membership or sign a loan contract with a Himalaya farm and join GTV.
If we could go back to the video, please, Ms. Loftus, and we'll go about 7:50 in. And we'll play maybe 45 seconds or so.
Media played.
We can pause there. Ms. Loftus, if we could go back to the chart, please, to page 30. If you can scroll up, please.
Media played.
Mr. Medrano, could I ask you to please read the text under 812?
Yes. So my brother-in-arms, I don't need money. Game is over if you see a asking for you for money. No hope of taking down the CCP. What I want is the love from my brother-in-arms. Let brother-in-arms be connected and united. I hope all our investors would soon become billionaires and another 10,000 more investors come and they become billionaires too. And if 1 million more come, we will have 1 million more billionaires. Isn't our new federal state of China so great?
Ms. Loftus, I want to go to page 57, please. Mr. Medrano, what's the date of the entry on page 57?
October 13th, 2020.
Where was this posted?
On gtv.org.
Focusing on the still image, what does it say at the top center of the still image?
G Clubs.
Mr. Medrano, I'll ask you to just read, please, the first paragraph under V1?
Yes. Dear brothers and sisters, today is October 13th. 1 week today this is a live broadcast about the launch of G Club and G Fashion and some statements that have been before the launch.
We can scroll down to V3. Mr. Medrano, can you read just the first sentence under V3?
Now what am I talking about in front of a bunch of lawyers?
And if we could go now to the bottom of page 58 and focus on V5. Ms. Loftus, I'll ask you to please play V5.
Media played.
Ms. Loftus, why don't we restart this and put it on mute? Mr. Medrano, I'm going to ask you to read the text under V5. We're not going to read every single line. But I'll let you know when to stop.
Yes. G Club members will also be invited to the G Summit annual conference. Have early access to selected G music songs and videos. And have access to the functions of delayed live broadcast on social media platforms in the future. These are the member benefits at the preliminary launch. And there will be other benefits and services included in the future which will be published on G Club's websites. To put it bluntly, this is all nonsense. I'll be straightforward with you. This is what we need to have to legally avoid Me Too, but don't think that we are being mingy here. This is no other way. We'd have to have that, but I don't think you'd buy G Club for something like the free music. If you were, why would you buy it, right? My suggestion would be, don't buy it. But this procedure laws measures that benefit. Me Too have been there. To prevent economic Me Too. All of which are published on the websites. Under the revised launch plan for G Clubs, however, Members will not thereby have opportunity to subscribe for or purchase any shares to be issued in the future. Will not receive GTV stock and will not receive loans to purchase memberships. This is serious business, brothers and sisters. Even if you have brought G Club, it absolutely will not come with the stocks. It does not mean that you can buy stocks of G Fashion and GTV. And it does not mean that you will be able to receive loans in the future. No. No. No.
We can pause there. All right. Now, this no. No. No video. Can you remind us the date of this video? Mr. Medrano?
Yes, October 13th, 2020.
Ms. Loftus, let's go back to the chart, and let's go to page 61, please. I have this wrong. It's 62. Now. Mr. Medrano, this entry is February 28, 2021, right?
Correct.
That's about 4 months after the no. No. No stocks video we just watched?
Yes.
Let's please scroll to page 66, Ms. Loftus. Mr. Medrano, the text here. This is from the same February 2021 video, right?
Yes.
I want to focus you on the text underneath V12, and specifically on the bottom paragraph. And I'll ask you to read about the middle of that paragraph, the sentence starting, in terms of G Fashion.
In terms of G Fashion, all of us understand it. As long as you purchase the membership, you'll certainly be the original shareholders. Regardless the amount that you purchase, you will definitely be the original shareholders for G Fashion fellow fighters.
We can pause there. Let's go to page 101. What's the date of this entry on the chart, Mr. Medrano?
June 23, 2021.
So this is about 4 months after the video we just watched?
Yes.
Or just read from. And it's about 8 months after the October 2020 no video?
Yes.
Let's go to, on page 101, Ms. Loftus, why don't we play V2? Ms. Loftus. We can put it on mute after a few seconds. And then, Mr. Medrano. I'm going to ask you to read the first 2 paragraphs under V2?
Yes.
I'm sorry. Mr. Ferguson said, just for the record, this is Government Exhibit C504V2.
Media played.
Okay. Today I saw that someone just sent a message and Brother 7 didn't understand. Let me take a look at the message that the fellow fighter sent. It's sent by William Wang. Let me read it. Good news, Brother 7 just announced. I didn't make an announcement. All the loans and investment that fellow fighters invested in the past no longer need to share interest with the farms. The issue share for each fellow fighter who have made an investment are in 1 to 10. Second, all G Club cardholders are entitled to 1 to 10 of the new GTV stocks for the amount of the card. How come it's in this color? It looks so awkward. All G Club cardholders are entitled to 1 to 10 of the new GTV stock for the amount of the card. Third, all of those who bought the Apple Store reward coin G1 at the beginning are also entitled to 1 to 10 shares of the new GTV in accordance with the amount bought. William Wang got the core information because the woman he slept in a bed with is named Tang Ping, a member of the Iron Blood group. So you see, this Tang Ping is leaking out information, right? Just kidding. This is public information. And what is said is right. I'm going to give you a little bit more information today. That is, the money that was invested in GTV from day one. Whether it was G1 or G dollar or all of the original Phoenix Farms or VOG or the loaning program or the membership purchase. As long as you've invested a penny out of your pocket, you invested $1 out of your pocket. You'll own 10 shares of the new GTV stock. It's that good. It's that awesome. All the things that were said in the past will be cashed out for you this time.
Ms. Loftus, we can go back to the chart. We can scroll down to page 103. Mr. Medrano, this text here. This is from that same June 2021 video, right?
Yes.
That's about 8 months after the no stocks video?
Yes.
Could you please read the text under V6?
Yes. Why does the G Club give these shares to the fellow fighters? Because I want them to be rich. I want them to never lower their heads for money. Never kneel in front of others.
Let's go down to page 4, the last paragraph under V7, if you could please read that, Mr. Medrano.
Yes. G Club. A card of Global Pass with unlimited future hopes to buy G Fashion at a 50% discount. You also have stocks in 110. Not 1:1. I have never seen such a good deal happen in my life until today.
Ms. Loftus, let's go down to page 115 in the chart. And what's the date of this video?
July 30th, 2021.
Where was it posted?
gtv.org.
This is about a month after the one we were just watching?
Correct.
Are there subtitles in it?
There are not.
Can we please play Government Exhibit C506V5, and we're going to go to pages 114 to 115? You can play it with some sound first.
Media played.
Ms. Loftus, why don't we restart and put it on mute?
The court said. It's now 11:30, so it's time for us to have our half-hour break. Members of the jury, remember that you're not permitted to discuss the case amongst yourselves or with anyone else. Don't permit anyone to discuss the case in your presence. And remember, you cannot do any form of research about the case. You cannot listen to any form of news media or any opinions concerning anything having to do with this case. Sir, you may step down. Don't discuss your testimony.
Jury not present.
The court said you may step out.
Witness temporarily excused.
The court said, please be seated. Mr. Ferguson, how long do you think we have with this witness?
Mr. Ferguson said, I'm always hesitant to make too much of an overpromise. I think I'm about halfway through. But to be conservative, it's possible the direct could take us through the day.
The court said, okay. All righty. See you at noon.
Recess. Afternoon session 12:02 p.m. Jury not present.
The court said, unfortunately, lunch just arrived for the jurors, and I'm going to have to give them until 12:30, so we'll start at 12:30. You may step down.
Recess.